Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to talk to you guys about warm-ups before lifting. So let me put on my plus 5 hat of weaponsmithing, work on skilling up my crafting a little bit, and let's talk about this. Alright guys, this is one of those topics that the first time I brought it up, it created a big stir. There were even other channels and stuff who made videos about it saying I was being irresponsible, and the funny part is that I basically said I don't think in-shape lifters dramatically reduce injury risk by doing warm-ups for the most part. I didn't tell people not to warm up. Now the funny part is the same person who made such a big deal about that has had their own fair share of injuries, and even within the same time frame of me making that statement, they made a big deal about it. They tore a hamstring with a submaximal squat. Again, because this is a person who themselves doesn't understand injury prevention. Like, they squat in knee wraps all the time. I mean, that you want a good way to get really hurt. Skipping warm-ups is not going to run as much risk of hurting you as squatting in knee wraps will. Let's just be realistic here. There's decent data on that, and it should just be some common sense when you look at what knee wraps actually do, that the knee wraps themselves will actually hurt you. They're almost a guarantee of eventual knee damage. And in the case of that person, I mean, tearing a hamstring on a squat of all things, submaximal squat. So there's other things going on. Now that being said, what do I mean they're not necessarily a big deal for injury prevention? Well, warming up is not, again, really that big of a deal. Most of you are not jumping up and hitting a 1 rep max on a squat first thing out of bed, right? You're not getting out of your bed, peeing, drinking your coffee, without any real walking around and jumping under a squat rack with a 500 squat on the bar, right? I mean, I have a squat rack by my bedroom. That's not what you're doing. As far as some things go, you've probably moved around. You've probably warmed up to some extent. And when I say that warm-ups aren't a big deal for injury prevention, I'm talking about with submaximal weights. Now, they do have a benefit, and if you guys notice, I do warm up. I've quit showing my warm-ups recently because my workouts are longer because I'm doing only training 3 days a week, so I have a lot longer sessions, and it would just be too much extra just fluff footage in there. But for, over 6 months, I showed all my warm-ups. So, I mean, it's not like I skip warm-ups. It's not like I don't do warm-ups. They have a benefit. It's just not what people think. Now, if you're a new lifter and you're not in shape, and by in shape, I don't mean what bodybuilders call in shape, oh, you're ripped and lean. I'm talking that your body itself is conditioned to lifting, that you have mobility on all the exercises, that you can go through the full range of motion with strength. If your joints have good mobility and strength, and you're used to lifting, warming up for submaximal weight, in my opinion, doesn't really reduce injury risk. Now, if you're a novice lifter, and let's say, for example, you can't just easily drop right now into an ass to grass third world squat and just chill there for 30 seconds, you are not in shape, at least from a lifting perspective, right? You're not in shape from a lifting perspective. So you've got things that you need to do, you need to continue to train to get used to having your body under a load all the time. Or people who maybe only hit certain movement patterns once a week, right? The whole bodybuilder body split thing. Okay, it's easy to not be in shape. But when you're squatting 3 days a week, or 4 days a week, or 5 or 6 days a week, like most people who are serious about their lifting, you're going to be doing those things, right? When you get used to that, you start finding that as far as all that mobility goes, it doesn't take much to prime your body from an injury prevention perspective because you're already mobile. You're used to those loaded movement patterns multiple different times per week. You just don't really have these problems. And even Jamie Lewis noted that. He told people before, I remember Jamie Lewis telling people that you're not in shape as a lifter if you can't walk in off the street and in your blue jeans, with no warming up, deadlift 500 pounds, with no belt, without hurting yourself, that you can't just walk in any day of the week and just pull 500 pounds off the floor, that you are not in shape as a lifter. And that's Jamie Lewis, 181 world record holder. And I think he's right to some extent, and I know that's extreme. That's an extreme case. A very extreme case, because again, a lot of people, 500 might be the max they're working towards. But he has a valid point about just your overall mobility and being in shape. But he also does really high frequency squatting and deadlifting and things like that. And he's pretty jacked. So what are we talking about here? What are the real benefits? Well, I don't think that you need it for submaximal weight. For example, if your max squat is 405 and you're going to walk in and do 3 sets of 10 with 275, your first set is a warm-up set. I mean, maybe I would say if someone were to ask me, how should I warm up for that? I'd be like, I don't know, do 2 or 3 reps with 135, right? 2 or 3 reps with 135, because if you're strong enough to squat 405 already, and you can do 3 sets of 10 with 275, and you can hit depth and good form and all that, you're already in shape from that perspective. You just need a little bit to get your nervous system primed, but that first set is almost a warm-up set, and that third set is going to be close to failure, right? That's going to be near a limit set to do 3 sets of 10 with 275 if you're a 405 squatter. That last set is going to be tough, but that first set may even be what I would classify as a warm-up for you. I mean, it's like 70%. You're still, in my opinion, for a first set at 70% of your max roughly, maybe a hair under that, that is almost a warm-up. It's priming you for the real set. The final set is going to be the real set where it's going to be challenging. I would say you need just enough to get the movement pattern established with a lighter weight to maybe get the joints and everything mobile. That's what I would do, because guys need to understand. I mean, for me, like, what was my ramp up to do a 485 squat every day? I used to come in and do a single rep with 135. I would do a single rep with 225, a single rep with 315, maybe one with what, like 365, and then I would jump to 485. Or I would do a warm-up with 405. I think that's what it was. And then I would do my 485. That's what, like 4 warm-up reps? 4 warm-up reps with progressive weight to hit a max. And I was doing that 5-6 days a week for a while on camera. So what I would say your purpose is not so much injury prevention. You don't need a lot of warming up for injury prevention once you're in shape and used to lifting at a really high frequency. But yet, even I would do them. And the question becomes why? They prime your nervous system. Warm-up sets done correctly make you stronger. They dial in your form better. In other words, you're practicing a warm-up. You should be practicing what you are about to do with a weight that's lighter. And I don't ever recommend that people warm up with higher reps usually than what they're going to lift it at. Because if you're warming up to hit some heavy 3-rep sets or heavy singles, well, you should be doing 3-rep sets or singles at the most to warm up for that, because you're practicing the movement pattern. You're practicing your setup. And the question becomes, does that prevent injuries? That actually might, in theory. Meaning, if you come in and you dial in your technique and you get the bar path down and you get your motor pathways down and you get your nervous system ready to lift heavy weight, you're more likely to use good form and you're going to have better neuromuscular efficiency. Therefore, you're going to be able to lift a heavier weight on your peak sets if you've primed yourself for them, and you're going to do it with better technique. If better technique usually equals more weight lifted, right? Better form, better biomechanics will let you lift more weight. And so you dial your form in, and then you can lift more weight in positions that are going to be safer on you in terms of injury prevention. It's not that the warming up itself is warming your body up to a great degree for lifting so that you won't get hurt. Your body is already warm. You have a given body temperature, and especially if you've been up moving around and you've been doing things, your body is warm. What we're essentially doing is dialing in the technique. That's the main purpose, dialing in the setup so that you can use good form and use the appropriate technique so that you will be stronger. And again, use a technique that's going to have a lower risk of injury, because you're not just coming in and doing it cold. And cold, I don't mean that in the sense of your body temperature. I mean cold in the sense of not having the motor pathways dialed in, right? That's what we're talking about here. So hopefully that makes sense when I talk about what the benefits of warm-ups are and what they don't really do. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.